So hello everyone, my name is Lorraine. I am currently traveling the world, doing a bit of a world tour, traveling, working at the same time. Haven't gotten to the working part just yet because it's still the beginning. So I am here today with Stephanie. We're in Kaohsiung in Taiwan. I definitely butchered that. We're in Taiwan. This is the second country I visit, and this podcast is about meeting people along my travels, talking about culture, talking about life, talking about everything and nothing, super laid back. So we are currently in a 7-Eleven. We've had to change a lot of locations, done different things, but if you hear a lot of background noise, apologies for that. So to begin, maybe, do you want to give a little intro? Should we start with the drinks? What do you prefer?
Sure. I can do a little intro and then do my drink. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie. I'm 28, and I'm from New York in the USA. And I'm also on my traveling around the world journey, except I'm at the very end. I'm actually heading home in like 3 or 4 days, which is very crazy, but excited to be here. And we can talk about our drinks. For those of you that don't know, 7-Eleven is huge part of the culture in Taiwan. And today I have a premium apple tea. Can you see that?
And mine is you told me it was
oolong tea.
Oolong tea. I'm not a very big tea person or like drinks person, I guess. So this is my first time trying this. And what did you think about yours?
It's good. It's a little sweet, but it's more apple juice. It's like a watered down apple juice, but I like it.
This is, so you told me you have tried this before.
Yes. Oolong is a big tea in Taiwan.
I think this is great. Honestly, it's a bit like it's pretty basic. Doesn't have too much taste, but this is nice and it's not sweet or anything. So this is a cool thing if you want to have something that's, I feel like, healthy, kind of like watery but not sweet. Like this is a good option.
Just nice and sweet.
Exactly. Okay, so if we can get started, jump into this. So Stephanie, can you give us a bit more details about your background, maybe why it is that you decided to go on this year-long travel? How come you're going back home right now? But yeah, give us a little bit more context of your really cool background.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, so I was working in corporate for about 8 years. Did a variety of things, but my last role was working for a big consulting firm, basically designing workshops for C-suite executives. So a lot of like strategy building, team building workshops, working with people in the C-suite and like a number of companies. And I really loved it. It was really fun, and I felt like I could be creative in a really corporate environment. And living in New York City is I was born and raised there, so I knew that's where I wanted to stay, but I was really burnt out. I was working really long hours. I felt like the work that I was putting into what I was doing, which was focusing a lot on sustainability and diversity, equity, and inclusion work, it just felt like we were doing so much and putting so much effort and working these long hours to put on this workshop for these companies that wouldn't do anything afterwards because of the political climate and like a number of different reasons. People aren't investing money into sustainability or DE&I work, and it felt like it was going nowhere. And I was really burnt out. I felt like I was depressed every day. Like getting up to go to work was really hard to do. And I had a bunch of family stuff going on where I had to reevaluate what I was doing with my life. And I thought about like always wanting to travel long term. And once that idea went into my head, I just kept doing the research, like doing the planning out financially and figuring out what I would do with my apartment. And then eventually I was like, this felt like the right thing to do. And the more I talked about it, the more I thought about it, the more right it felt. So I left my job after 8 years in February, and I first started off doing a 5 month, like 4.5 month backpacking trip through Latin America. And then I was home for a little bit just to see people in the summer, and then I went to Vermont in the U.S. to work on a dairy farm and then work at a plant nursery. Then I came to Asia, where I'm finishing up about a 1.5-month trip now. And so I am heading home this week, and I'm really going back because my apartment. I need to figure out what's next, and also just spend time with family and friends. I found myself really missing home and really missing a little bit of stability after traveling for a while. So that's my current plan and what I've been up to.
Thank you so much. This is great. I think this is awesome. So many people, and we talked about this before, but so many people aren't sure if they should travel, aren't sure what they should do. So many people are stuck, especially people in their 20s, are stuck in these jobs, and they're usually corporate, and they're intense, and they're burnt out, and like making the decision to put an end to it and then choosing what's right for you, I think is the first step to headed towards a healthier and happier life. So congrats for doing that. I think it's really good. I have a million questions, and this could go a million different directions, but I feel like maybe we're not going to talk about the burnout corporate stuff, because I feel like that's, maybe you don't want to talk about this. How about we talk about what you feel this traveling has brought to you? What do you think has been the biggest, kind of like, the most important thing you've learned so far about yourself? And how different do you think you are today compared to 1 year ago?
Okay, that's a hard one. 'Cause I feel like, I don't know if I'm all that different, but it's like I'm more, not enough clarity, but more clarity of like who I am and what's important to me. And I feel like traveling, it brings out so much of you, especially traveling by yourself and like traveling in the backpack and going to a place where I knew absolutely nobody. And I guess I'm talking more about the beginning of my year in like Latin America, where I really was challenged to figure out what am I doing, where am I going, like what do I actually want to do when I have all of this freedom to explore. And I think my biggest takeaway was that I wasn't alone in this, because I think deciding to quit my job, it's very not like the culture in the US to do that. People don't take gap years, they don't take sabbaticals, like you're just kind of keep working and then find another job if you're sad or don't like it. Everyone thought I was crazy for quitting my job. They were like, are you sure this is what you want to do? Just like take like extra PTO or pay time off. And so I felt like this was such a strange thing for me to do, and I felt really alone in that. But when I was traveling and I met people, even in my first week, there are so many people who are in a very similar like mind space that I was in, and like going through that same period of life of unsure what they want to do. And they were people my age, they're people younger, people older, and it was almost more reassuring that everyone kind of has these thoughts, and it's okay to want to take a break every now and then. So definitely having the freedom to do that, to explore, and to meet people who I still keep in touch with now, and going through different, like this journey, and the kind of seeing where people's journey takes them. And it's also given me the freedom to explore things I'm interested in. So I traveled, and I also worked on a dairy farm and a plant nursery, because I've always wanted to be closer to where our food comes from and closer to the earth and to the ground. And I really got the chance to explore that.
That's great. I want to ask you, in your travels, you obviously challenge yourself in different ways. Get out of your comfort zone, meet so many people, like you said, at different stages of their lives. But I think when you travel is when you realize, especially when you're alone, is when you realize how much, like, how easy life is at the end of the day. How easy it can be, sorry. Not easy for everyone. It's obviously, like, depends on privilege and stuff, but usually I feel like when you're stuck in those, like, you know, corporate and, like, especially Western societies and all these, like, boxes and stuff, we overcomplicate a lot of things, and at the end of the day you end up realizing that, hey, you know, life maybe isn't that hard, and we tend to make things complicated and add layers to things that, you know, it's like one of the golden rules, like, just keep it simple. Like, once it's simple, you know, it's anyways, I was kind of like diverging again. Tell me maybe some really cool or beautiful stories of people that you met along your travels, or something really good that happened to you. Or tell me about a story of a day where you felt lost during your travels, and you didn't really know what to do, or you were, I don't know, you weren't really feeling great, or you needed a help, and the universe delivered.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So many things are coming to mind. But I feel like the first thing that came to mind was towards the last prompt that you kind of gave me, where, I mean, I'm lost. Like, this whole year I feel lost. But there was one point in my trip in Latin America when I think I was in Colombia, which was about 3 months into my trip. And at that point, I was feeling like, okay, I'm kind of tired. I was like, I don't really know what to do next. And the vibe was very different from when I had first started out, where there was a lot more hiking, a lot more solitude, a lot more nature. Whereas Colombia, which fantastic, beautiful experiences, but it's a lot more people and a lot more cities, a lot more built up. And I remember feeling like I didn't know what to do and where I wanted to go. I had a plan of like I was going to go to this city, and I was going to practice salsa and do all this stuff. But I was not really feeling like I wanted to do that. And I think this big lesson I think this year has taught me was to really listen to myself. Because I'm usually such a big planner where I want to plan what I'm doing, where I'm going to eat, like making the reservations. I'm very much the mom of my friend group, but this was the first time that I felt really free to do whatever I felt like doing. And I was kind of feeling this, and I was meeting people, I was talking to people, and then someone told me about a sailboat that sails from Cartagena to Panama City, and I was like, that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I felt like this excitement of hearing about this experience. So I immediately signed up to leave the next day. I spent 6 days on a sailboat, like sailing through the San Blas Islands outside of Panama. And it was actually the last day was my birthday. I was turning 28. And it was the most incredible experience. Like, you're living on a tiny little sailboat. Every single day you wake up and it's this like beautiful ocean and like these islands. You're swimming, you're snorkeling, you're like eating the most incredible foods. And I had the most amazing time. And it kind of really taught me to just follow my heart, figure out what I want to do, and also that the universe will send opportunities my way that really worked for me. And it was amazing. And it was a great way to spend my birthday.
Once again, this is like awesome. I love this. This is such a great story. I feel like when you travel, you have so many of these moments, and I think the second, you have like a little bit of a panicky, or you're lost, or you don't know, and you kind of like tell yourself like, hey, it's okay.
There's no reason to.
Exactly. Yeah. And you kind of like realign yourself and really ask yourself what you want, or just feel gratitude for the moment and where you are. That's when things just flow. Yeah. After that, like, good things always happen, and you realize that you're so blessed to be wherever you are, and then you like acknowledging and appreciating even the small things. That's what really ends up bringing the good stuff, like the even better stuff after. For sure. That's when the good opportunities come. That's when the good people come. Like we were saying, for instance, we met last night, and it was so random. I arrived to Taiwan yesterday. I was walking around the city, ended up having a long afternoon, evening walk, going to markets, seeing a small concert, just so random, but I was feeling so full, so grateful, so blessed. And I was thinking even if I'm alone, I'm having a great time. And I was like, I'm sure I'll meet someone great tonight. And I go back to the house, to the guest house, and we ended up meeting, and we started talking, and I didn't even think about the podcast at that point, but then I was like, oh my god, Stephanie would be the perfect first person for this podcast. And so and then I got super excited, and I was like, see, when you appreciate wherever you are, the universe delivers. I have another super cool story, if you don't mind me sharing. So the last stop I did when I was in Korea was on Jeju Island, which I've been hyping up so much because the food for me was the best in the whole of Korea. Literally everything I ate when I was there was so good. And so the big thing to do when you're on Jeju Island is hiking Mount Halasan, which is the highest peak of South Korea. A super cool hike. Long story short, I decided to do it once I was there. Wasn't fully prepared. I was low-key worried I wasn't even going to be healthy, fit enough to do it. But then we did it. We delivered. It was great. the thing to know is that if you want to do it one day, if you do it in the winter, which not a lot of people do, not a lot of foreigners do, you need to bring crampons. And so your girlie over here, when there, I had like everything. I felt like I had prepared, like managed to prepare the bare minimum well before. So I started the hike and I'm feeling super good, and I almost missed like my spot to start the hike. So I was like, oh my god, see, like good stuff, positive thinking, I'm having so much fun. You're hiking up, so you're like, you're going through it, but you have to keep positive. So we get to like the last checkpoint where it's like, if you get past this checkpoint at this time, you keep going up, and then if you're too late, they send you back down. And so I'm about to keep going, and then there's a security guy, I guess, that tells me, no, like, you don't have crampons, you can't go. And I was like, oh, because I could see when I was going up, I was like, oh, like, I'm seeing a lot of people with crampons right now, and those look like it would be necessary, but I was like, it's okay, like, you know what, the universe is on my side, I don't need this. Long story short, I was like, fuck, like, I need to find crampons. And so I start asking everyone, like, putting Google Translate, like, hey, do you have a pair I can borrow or I can buy from you right now? Like, I didn't come all the way here just to go back down right now. Like, I'm not coming back tomorrow, like, anyway, so I asked maybe like 15 people, and then there's this guy that had told me no before. He comes to me and he's like, hey, like, I got crampons. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. Like, I was like, I can't believe this. And I was like, okay, like, let me give you something. And he was like, no. I tried like giving him my phone number, like, or getting his contact, because I was like, okay, once we're like at the top or at the bottom, like, I'll call you and then we can organize. So I give them back. Anyways, he was like, he didn't take any of it. He was like, yeah, just keep the crampons. And I was like, this is insane, because on this trip, this is just the beginning of my big world tour. I've met so many people that have been so kind, that have given me like free clothes, free like drinks, free food, free things, free transport, free everything. They've been so sweet. I've been so blessed. And so this was really a moment when I was hiking up with the crampons the whole way, which was still like 4 or 5 hours hike up and down. I was like, oh my god, like this is, I'm so lucky. Like, I am actually so lucky. This sort of stuff only happens when you have, like, I was feeling so grateful, and you ask, and you're in a situation where you're like, okay, we need to find a solution. You ask everyone, like, I'm going up, there's just no other way around this. Anyways.
So you're just carrying crampons with you now?
Now I have a pair of crampons, yes. And I was thinking, you know what? I do want to keep doing a bit of hiking and all, but if I get to a mountain and I don't need the crampons, or someone needs them, I think I will pass them on. Because I feel like this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, he saw I was in need. He was like, oh, this, white girl is desperate. She probably doesn't come to Korea every weekend. I feel like I need to help, and he did, and it was great. And honestly, he made my day. He's like one of the highlights I have from Korea.
So you gotta write in your journal.
Exactly. Anyway, sorry, I was rambling.
That's great.
Okay, if you could tell me, we're gonna switch it up a little bit. So I know we're a bit. Oh no, we're good with time. I feel like we have a couple more minutes. If you can tell me a bit, like, on the, I guess, darker side, things that you realize traveling, either culturally, or just like something bad that may have happened to you, that was actually like a bad moment, or the universe didn't really fully deliver on the moment. Like, do you have something that comes to your mind?
For sure, yeah. And this actually happened to me recently, which is why it came up. And in hindsight, it's hilarious and it's funny now, but at the time it was a real panic. I was just in Vietnam like 2 weeks ago, and I had a friend come to visit me from the US, and she came all the way from California. She was just there for a week, and we were going to do the Ha Giang Loop, which is a 4-day motorbike tour in northern Vietnam, which was beautiful. And in order to get from Hanoi to Ha Giang, you have to take a sleeper bus, which is like 7-hour bus. They're really nice buses here. Like, you lie down flat. You have the US could never, ever. But we bought these bus tickets, and my friend and I, we have all our stuff with us in our backpacks, and we go to the office and speak very little English, but they're like, come with us. And we're like, okay, we just follow along. I get on one woman's bike. My friend gets on the other woman's, like, motorbike, because motorbikes are a big thing in Vietnam. And we drive, and we're driving, and I'm not keeping track, because I'm not driving. This is my first time on a motorbike. I'm like, this is cool, the vibes, I'm in the crowd. And then I hear the woman driving the bike. She's like, oh no, I lost them. And I was like,
Girl, what?
Isn't it yet? I don't know where they are. Everyone's riding a motorbike. She kept saying, oh no. Didn't know much more English besides the words, oh no, I lost them. Too fast is what she kept saying. And I was like, okay. And so we drive for probably like 15 more minutes. And I can tell she's panicking because she'll drive, she'll pull off to the side, she'll go on her phone doing something. I don't know if she's tracking or looking up something, and then she'll keep driving and she'll like make a turn, she'll like do a U-turn. And I was like, are we going back to the office? Because I don't think we know where we're going. And after about 20 minutes of this, she pulls up to the bus, and I see the woman that was driving my friend's bike. And I was like, great, we're here. They're like rushing me. I'm the last person to get on the bus. The bus driver grabs my stuff, like puts it in the bus, and he's like, get in. And I was like, where's my friend? And she's like, she'll meet you there. And I was like, no, I have her ticket. Like, we're together. She's like, don't worry. And they're like ushering me onto the bus. And I was like, okay. So I get on the bus, and I check my phone, and I have like 10 missed calls from my friend. And she was like, where are you? I'm on a bus. Like, no one speaks English. And I was like, they put her on a different bus. And I was like, oh no. I'm like, okay. But she told me that we're going to meet you there. So I guess I'll see you in 6-7 hours, like in Kaohsiung. But I was like, you know what? Share your location with me just in case.
Yeah.
And so I have her location. And then we hang up. And I'm like, this sucks. But, we're on different buses. And then I'm like settling in, putting all my stuff away, and I get a call from her. She's like, Steph, they kicked me off the bus. I'm standing on the side of the road on a highway under an underpass. There's a man here with a car. I don't know who he is, but the bus driver kicked me off and said, 2 minutes, and then drove off. And I was freaking out at this point. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just brought this friend here, like all the way. She's in Vietnam. I don't know what's happening. And then I go to talk to the bus driver, and before I even say anything, I'm like, excuse me. And he's like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. And I was like, great. And we're like, I'm on the phone with my friend, and it turns out we're driving next to her. We stop, we pick her up. And I think the guy that was with her is from the company, because he got in the car and drove off. And she gets on this bus, and we're like, what the hell just happened? And that was like the greatest moment of panic I had, because I'm like, do I call the police? What do I do in this situation? But everything was okay at the end, and now it's a really funny story. But it definitely taught me to you gotta just trust sometimes that things are different cultures and different places, and they knew what they were doing. They had a process. It wasn't communicated to us, but she got on the bus and we got there. We had a great time. Yeah.
This is definitely a crazy story. This is why I feel like, in a way, solo traveling is so great. And one of the reasons I wanted to go on this big tour on my own is because, well, first of all, I needed to be on my own, but also because if you're with someone else, I feel like you're not completely free in terms of what you want to do and like what you feel like doing, where you want to go, how you think, because even though you're not anyone's responsibility, and no one, if you're traveling with a friend, they're not your responsibility. They kind of are, in a way. Like, I know I
totally get it.
If I'm with someone, I'm definitely not gonna think the same way or make the same decisions, because if I'm on my own, I know I can fuck around and find out, and I take full responsibility for my actions, full accountability. But if I'm with someone else and something happens to that person because I wanted to fuck around and find out, then that's just not, right. It's really not the same thing. So
yeah, and you want to be cognizant of the other person and like making sure they're even just having a good time.
Exactly.
And if my friend gets dropped off on the side of a highway in Vietnam with no one speaking English, like I'm worried she's not having a good time. But at the end of the day, it was all great. And there's definitely perks to traveling with people, but there's a reason why we're both traveling by ourselves, and it's really challenging and like also really, really empowering too. And it really teaches you to be happy with yourself and like be comfortable doing things on your own and like being challenged, which you don't often get to do in your everyday.
Something that you mentioned obviously is like the language barrier, which I guess you encounter a lot when you travel to, like to different countries, in different places of the world, especially we talked about this also earlier, in countries where the language is just not at all similar in any way to the language that you speak. So I think this has like the positives and the negatives. For instance, positive, the fact that you are forced to figure out ways to communicate, and then sometimes you figure out that you're having a full-on conversation with someone. You don't understand everything, but you are communicating, which I think is really fun. Obviously, we live in an age where it's so much easier. With our phones, you have Google Translate, which makes things so much easier, which I feel like is a bit annoying because it's so easy. Same. You were telling me the story about your friend, and the first thing that came to my mind was like, dude, imagine if this had happened 40 years ago when there were no phones.
Yeah.
Maybe this would not have happened because
Maybe not, but
because
you just have to trust.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
get to wherever you needed to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is so interesting, thinking how things have evolved and how this can be a blessing because it makes things easier, but also like, is it so good that it's so easy? That's
I think about this a lot, and I was actually just talking to a mom and daughter combo that I had met when I was in Vietnam, and she was the mom. Well, the daughter was translating for us because they were German and French, and the mom only spoke French and German. But she was telling me that when she was younger, like 30 years ago, her and her ex-husband, they traveled a year in Latin America. They don't speak any Spanish, and this was before the age of phones, internet, doing research. Like, you just had to go places and like show up at the bus station, grab a bus, hitchhike your way around. Like, you couldn't plan anything out. You couldn't research like the best things to eat or the things to do, and you couldn't translate anything. They had a guidebook and a dream, and they just kept going. And I'm like, it's so cool to think about that and how easy we have it now. Because I also think having translate and these things on our phone, it sometimes doesn't help. Like, I feel like it's always a cop-out for me to just like go ahead and translate versus actually trying to like communicate with someone in other ways besides like speaking, if that makes sense. Like, because there are times where I've had conversations with people, but it's like very limited. You don't have the same language, but you have a shared experience, and like that makes it even more special in a weird way. If that makes sense.
Totally. I 100% agree with that. And then to kind of like jump into, I think, one of the main themes that we share, which I want to know if the answer to a question I'm going to ask is going to be that. I feel like it will. What do you think is one of the main ways you can connect when you travel? Connect with the people, with the culture, with the new environment.
Okay. My answer is easy. As we talked about this, is food.
Okay.
I think food is such a... It's a way to connect people without cross barriers or cross languages. And food is a really important part of my family and my culture and my identity. Because I am Taiwanese. I was born in the U.S., but I'm not fluent in Chinese at all. And the one way I really connect with like family and like my grandparents who don't speak English is through food. And food is used as a way to communicate love in typically a lot of Asian families, but in a lot of families in general. And so learning how to make food and giving food to people is how I show my love. And being able to travel and experience a culture's food and also understand, like, based on history, like the similarities between different countries and their foods and where the influence comes from. It's so cool. And it's a really amazing way to share a moment with someone and like over a meal and like chatting about whatever it is. I really think is the way I like to travel. So when I travel to eat. I only go to places where I want to eat the food, and I plan my days around meals. And I think that's the best. That's how I like to travel.
I love that. This is wonderful. We talked about this earlier. Also, because we shared a breakfast, which was supposed to be the beginning of this podcast, but life happened. Stephanie kind of like showed me different dishes, different things to try, and I think that's like we connected even more at that point. Like that was awesome. You know, her telling me like, you know, giving me the the details, the insights of the food I was eating, and then recommending things, and then maybe mentioning like, hey, I like this because it reminds me of that, or I think it kind of like helps also initiating conversation and just making it easy. People love sharing what they know, what they appreciate, what they love, and usually food is like one of the most like essential things. So as you said, I think it's such a central way and an easy way of communicating love, and I do think it is true, and it is not just for instance, like you were saying, like, oh, it's in a lot of cultures you do that. I think in every culture you have that. I think in every culture and in every family, or I guess most families, you have that one like that grandma that makes, she cooks huge meals and she stuffs you with food, and it's not like to make you overeat or anything. It's to show, like, make sure that you're full, you're happy, and you're good. Like whenever I go and my sister and I go visit our grandma, it's like we go there because we chill. She takes care of us. She cooks us really good meals. It's all about that. Like this is, it's crazy, but food is so central to sharing. And so I think that traveling through food, as you put it, is one of the best ways to travel. You get like the best of everything. Same, like, you can start speaking to people next to you. Like yesterday I was at this food market and I was waiting for my food, and I started speaking to I think there were a couple next to me, Taiwanese. Well, speaking, I don't know if there was much speaking because they didn't speak English and I don't speak Chinese. But we communicated, and I was like, okay, like they told me about the food, what was good, they were also able to tell me like what they recommend I do in Taiwan and in this city, and it was great. It was short. We didn't exchange that much. There was a lot of like them trying to like discuss how to explain things to me or what they recommend. But it was, I don't know, it was a very wholesome interaction. When they left, we were like, bye bye, xie, and everybody was kind of happy. So yeah, I agree with that. I love that. Okay, so I feel like, again, I know we're a bit tight on time today, so I guess we can head towards wrap things up slowly. I have two last questions, which I want to make them a bit of a theme of the podcast, I'd say. The first one is asking you what your current favorite song is. That's because I want to make that the outro of the podcast.
Oh, love that.
So either that, if it is also, or if you have a favorite song from the country you're in, that would be awesome. But if you don't, that's totally fine as well. I had so many more questions, and we have so many more things to share, but okay, we have to make decisions. So I have a million questions, but we're keeping it to this.
Okay.
And then next time when I see you somewhere else, we're gonna have so many more things to talk about and a lot more time, I feel like.
Okay.
But anyways, going back to the music question.
All right, I'm gonna answer both, so you have options of what you want to use for outro. Right now,
No, actually,
no,
just use one.
just use one.
Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know a specific song name, but I can give an artist
Okay.
because I recently got into collecting records.
Okay.
But
cool.
I haven't even opened the record player, but I have one in my apartment. And so I've been big about like ambiance, and going to record stores in different countries is really cool because they're usually pressed in different locations, and I would love to find artists like of that country that I wouldn't probably find at home. So I discovered a new artist in Taiwan. His name is, I want to say it's Yufu, Yufu.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's his name, but he's also on Spotify, and he is Taiwanese, and he does like, he's a lot of influence from the 70s, 80s soul funk era in the US, but he's like puts like a Taiwanese spin on it. So I've been really enjoying that sound, and I love funk soul. Like that is one of my favorite genres.
Wow.
So I'd recommend checking him out.
Okay.
He's really cool, and I got a cool record from White Wabbit record store in Taipei. Highly recommend. They're fantastic there as well.
Okay, wait, this is awesome. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And so for the last final question, which is going to be like, I like asking people really random questions. And so your random question of the day is, what's your most socially acceptable red flag?
Socially acceptable. My personal.
Yeah. First thing that came to your mind. What, like, simple.
Okay. I think this is my red flag. I don't know if it's socially acceptable. You know Starburst candies?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and they have the little paper wrapping that wrapped in. Sometimes I'll just eat it if I can't take the whole thing off. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat the wrapper.
Like you.
Not the whole wrapper. I attempt to take it off.
Fucking up the whole, like,
I mean, I don't try that hard, but I do like attempt to take it off, and then you get stuck.
You're like, okay,
I just eat it.
Eat a bunch of stuff with microplastics.
Exactly.
Just full
Exactly. So that's my, I don't know, socially acceptable, but red flag.
Honestly, I don't know if it's really a red flag, because sometimes you eat food or you have food and you put it in a napkin, whatever, and then you can't take it fully off, and you're just like, I guess I'll fucking eat paper today. So
I did eat a bao the other day that had. I was like, this kind of tastes funny. The entire paper was on the bottom. I just ate the whole paper. So it happens.
Okay, this is great. I love that. You know what? This is fine. You're right.
Yeah.
This is, I would say, perhaps a bit of a red flag, because it's like you have to take care. You know what? I love that that's yours, because it's so, in a way, it's so contradictory, because you were saying how you think about you're like thinking about what you eat and being conscious of what you ingest. And then
things I
that's
don't care about.
Okay, boom. This is great. I think this is a wonderful way of wrapping up this first episode. This was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
It was honestly a great time. I'm so grateful and glad we met. I feel like it was really meant to be.
Yeah.
And breakfast. Thanks again for inviting me. For the drinks, for everything, for coming here. I've been having a great time. I know we're gonna see each other again at some point in life.
I feel like yes,
for sure. And yeah, I guess to the next time. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. I'm still trying to figure out what this podcast is going to be named, but we'll see. We'll see how things unravel, how things develop. Thank you so much.